Hello again, scholars. It is I, Godsey, your instructor, and today we are talking about presentation. Now, in this class so far, we've put a lot of focus on what we want to say, what are the right words behind it, what's our motivation, how do we want to fit into this industry, and how do we want to do it. And so today, we're putting that into action. How do we bring that to life? Now, there are a lot of ways that we can do this, but the key thing that I want you to keep in mind as we move forward in this is that when we present ourselves, we're not just talking to the person in front of us, right? Oftentimes when we think like, okay, we're having an interaction, I'm networking, I'm telling them about who I am, we're thinking, here am I, here's this other person, and how do we connect? How do I convey who I am into this brain of the other person? And that is a very short plan. It's a good start. Don't get me wrong. It's step one. But you need to prepare for more than that. When we're presenting ourselves and trying to position who we are professionally, especially for future opportunities, the goal isn't just to convey who we are and what we can do to one person, but how can we teach one person who we are and how excited we are about what we're doing and the opportunities we have, so that way they are remembering what we've said and then they can go to all of their contacts and remember that as well. We've all heard in this industry, right? It's about who you know. But the thing is, it's not always the direct contacts of who you know, but it's about who you know and who they know. That's how you get to multiply your network and get the most out of it. At a certain point, you're not going to be able to know everyone out there. But if you know the right people and they have your story, you're going to get a lot more opportunities coming your way with a lot less effort. So when we're communicating our ideas, our presentation of who we are, we're teaching our listener about how to talk about us to others. Now, it's more than just like, here's a bullet point list of things that I do. Maya Angelou said it best, and I'm going to paraphrase here significantly. But people will forget what you said, but they will not forget how you made them feel. So there's a lot that we want to fit into this. When we're trying to convey ourselves to our audience, it's not just, we do want them to make sure we know what we do or what opportunities, but also how they feel about us, how they're going to remember that situation. So how do we pack all of that into a very short opportunity in which we get to network with other individuals? Oftentimes, these brief little moments to make that first impression come in less than a minute in length. So we have to be purposeful. And even if we've been communicating our entire lives, that doesn't always mean that we've been doing it well or that there isn't room for growth. It's our chance to be purposeful. So much in our life, we've chosen a pathway and said, this is how I'm talking, but we haven't had chances to sit back and say, do I want to revise that? How can I represent myself differently? So when we come into this, think about not just your listener, but your listener's listener. What's the most important information that they need to hear that they can then take to other people? So you don't need to give them your full resume of anything and everything you've ever done. What's the best thing? What's on the horizon for you? And then I also want you to start considering the nonverbal behavior. Now, you may have touched on this in your creative presentation class, but here's a refresher. Nonverbal behavior is basically everything except for the words that you have said, but it does also include how you've said them. Anything from facial expressions of like eyebrows moving, eye contact that we have, the way that we smile or smirk or talk out of our mouth in any way, our body language, our head movement, our hand gestures, all of these combine to create a comprehensive engagement. Think, for example, if I wanted to showcase that, yes, I fit into a board of directors, an organization that's much more formal and leading. So I might feel my tone deepening just a little bit. It makes it a little more authoritative in that sense. I sit up very straight. My body orientation is towards my audience, all right? I don't lean it over to the side to give my full focus. I put my body towards those individuals. My hand gestures feel more solid. They're more balanced, all right? When I gesture, they're important. And when I talk, I want it to be meaningful. I slow down my pace a little bit more as I walk through what we're doing. It commands more energy. It commands the air that I want you to feel so that way you can picture, how does she fit in a meeting? Versus if I wanted to be more animated. Let's say I was really wanting to host or commentate something and it needed to be energetic. So you can hear my pitch goes up just a little bit more. My gestures start moving a lot more. My head movement moves more. My whole body gets into it, right? It's a very different experience. Is it still me? Absolutely. Even my range, it changes a little bit more, right? I have a few higher pitches and lower pitches to give it that animated feel, give it that energized feel. And so when you're talking to people, these are all components that you can play with to figure out how do you want to convey who you are. And that's the idea. If you were to sit down and collaborate with someone, who's the person they're collaborating with? Is it somebody that sits here and has more of a monotone voice, a very flat face, and says, I'm really excited about working in esports? But are you? Because it doesn't sound like it. It sounds like the person who's going to put you to sleep in the meeting, right? And that's not what you want. You want to showcase your interest. You want to showcase your willingness to work through tough situations. You want to showcase your focus, right? Whatever it is, figure out how you want to be remembered and how do you work with your nonverbal behavior, your voice, facial expressions, eyes, eyebrows, mouth, right? Flare of nostrils, heck, even your hand gestures, your body language to make it work. Even eye contact is important. Now, remember, don't just stare someone down. That's intimidating and kind of creepy. You don't need to do that. But having steady eye contact allows you to showcase confidence in what you're saying. And if you want people to be confident in you, you need to showcase that you're confident in yourself. And there is a difference of actually being confident in yourself and letting other people know that you're confident in yourself. And you need to make sure that message gets across. Now, we thought about our listeners, we thought about our nonverbal behavior. That also leads into our emotional tone, or in creative presentation, as you remember it being called, pathos. How do you want them to feel? This is actually a really important branding question. Anytime I've worked on rebranding with organizations, we don't ask, what is it that you want to do differently? What's your new slogan? What's the new logo? The question begins with, how do you want them to feel about you? After they've had a consultation with you, how does your client feel? After they watch a commercial about you, how do they feel about you? That's the key thing. How do you want people to feel after they've interacted with you? Maybe they also feel energized. Maybe they also feel focused. Maybe they're also excited. Maybe they're curious, whatever it is. And it doesn't have to be like only one emotion. You're allowed to be multi-diverse in this aspect, but think about it. There needs to be a purposefulness about it. I personally love that people feel energized after engaging with me, that they feel also inspired to say, yeah, we can change things, that there's a willingness and a desire then after that inspiration to tackle and change new projects, that we're not just going to go out and create the same things over and over again, but I'm the person that comes to it that's going to bring life to something that is not there. That's what I want to convey. So how do I do that then? Through my messaging? How do I do that through my nonverbal behavior? How do I bring that to life? So I want you to take a moment and think about that, especially before we have our project recording that you have later this week. Think about the emotions that you want to convey. And I do say emotions, plural. Nobody feels just one emotion, right? And if you do, it feels inauthentic. I had an RA once, and she was just always happy. Like that was her constant state. And to be honest, it was unnerving, right? It's not natural only to be just one thing, right? We have our irritants, we have our frustrations, and that's good to convey as well. It's part of the human experience. So don't stray away from how you truly feel, but figure out what are those right emotions and what do you want people to remember those about with you. All right. The last thing that I want to touch upon is consider your setting. Sometimes you have control over it, right? So I get to choose which classrooms we meet in or meeting rooms that I book when I want to have interviews with people. Or maybe I choose the coffee shop that we meet in, or if we meet via Discord, right? Or Zoom call, or we do an asynchronous setting where it's a recording like this. And I get to define what my setting is. So I choose, for example, to have my dog here with me or my office, right? So that way it can convey certain aspects of me. That's important, right? It's our chance to go ahead and showcase or be able to determine what kind of interactions happen in a setting. It helps us guide what we're going to do in that flow of conversation. I'll be honest, in the gaming space, there's a lot of networking that happens at bars which is not so fun when you're short, like I am. So everyone's literally towering over you. And you also prefer food over drink. So what's easier for me is for me to get my networking to be the way that I want it to, is I invite people to food afterwards. They go out, have fun at the bars, and I don't want to end up with like alcohol spilled on my shoes or anything like that. I take a small nap, meet them out afterwards. I buy them hamburgers, fries, whatever it is, and we get to talk. It's a much quieter setting. It's easier to listen to. It's not surrounded by millions of people, but instead I get 5 or 6 of us. We sit at a table together and we can have more authentic conversations. I choose to control the settings. Now, sometimes we can't. It is sometimes where it is, right? We'll take whatever opportunities that we can get. But we also then need to recognize the challenges that come from that. Maybe we are stuck in a big convention where there are literally thousands of individuals around us and it's all massively loud. It can make it really hard to hear people. So how to do simple things like conveying your name, right? So maybe you're like, oh yeah, I'm Becca Godsey, and I hold up my phone so that way you can see my Twitter that says Becca Godsey. So it makes it easy to understand what my name is and to be able to remember it. Or to carry around a business card, right, with my key information around it. So that way it makes it, again, easier for them to remember if they can't always hear me. There's challenges in every situation. But as again, it's about being purposeful. In the variables that we can control, what are we doing about it? So you'll be doing your recording. Think about your space, right? Is it in your bedroom, which is fine. Sometimes we don't have a lot of spaces to choose from, but at least is your bed made or your closet doors closed so that way we don't have to see the piling of laundry that you haven't done yet. Right? If you choose to have your pets in there with you, I'll be honest, one gets to stay in here with me, the other doesn't because she decides to yell all the time. You get to make these choices of what's going to set you up for the best form of success. And for your listener, to be able to fully engage what you're saying. So when you dive into this presentation, figure out what is authentically you. What does it mean to have the emotions that you have, the message that you have? How do you want others to connect and remember you? Because that will set the standard of the type of projects they bring to you, if any at all. You set the standard. You teach others how you want them to interact with you. As with always, you can reach out if you've got any questions, and I look forward to seeing everyone's video. Good luck.